Grade 2, we've been talking about having to regroup or borrow when we subtract. And we know that we only ever do that if the number underneath is larger than the number on top. Now today I want to pretend that we are on a street called Borrow Street. And there's the ones and there's the tens. And the ones are really good friends with their next door neighbors, the tens, but they don't know any of the other neighbors on the street. So they only ever borrow from their next door neighbor. I wonder if you know your next door neighbor and if you've ever had to borrow something from your next door neighbor. Sometimes if we're doing a recipe and we need an extra egg, sometimes instead of going to the store, we'll go right to our next door neighbor and borrow an extra egg if we need one for our recipe. So today we're looking at this question and we have 63 minus 17. Now let's say the ones only have 3, but we need to take away 7. Can we do it? No, we can't. So we're going to need to borrow from our neighbors. But look, there's more neighbors on our street. I want to introduce you to the hundreds. Now 100 is 10 tens or 100 ones. 110 is 10 ones and 1 is 1. Okay, so we have these little houses. They're on our street. I have the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. Now let's remember, the ones never borrow from the hundreds because they don't know those neighbors. On Borrow Street, you only know the people who live right next door to you. Okay, so here we go. I actually have a larger question. I have 663 minus 217. You will actually see this question in your work today. Okay, well, I'm always starting at the ones, remember? So let's go to the ones. 3 minus 7. And we said that we cannot do that, so we're going to go to our neighbors. So the ones are going to go next door and knock, 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 knock. May I borrow one of your tens? And the tens are very nice neighbors, and they always say, of course you may. So let's show our work. So when I say show your steps, this is what I mean. I'm crossing off the 6, and because I'm taking 1 10 away, it turns into a 5, and I'm giving a 10 to the 1. So I can put a big 1 right here to make 13, or I can just make a 13 like this. It's up to you. So now I have 13 minus 7. Can I do it? Yes. And the answer is 6. And now I have 5 minus 1, and the answer is 4. Okay, now what? Well, let's not forget about our hundreds. Can I do 6 minus 2? Sure I can. And the answer is 4. So this is what it looks like. 663 minus 217 is 446. Now remember, only borrow if you need to. If you don't need to borrow and you do, well then you're being a greedy neighbor. And you only borrow from the neighbor right next door. I hope this helps.